Hi everybody, it's Janie at the League-Kempner House in Galveston. We're a non-profit set up to restore and preserve this incredible house, and we've got an exciting day today. It's early in the morning. I drove down here in the dark. We are expecting a concrete delivery at 7:30 to pour our sidewalk. And I'm jumping a little bit out of order. This is probably a couple of months ahead of where we are in the videos right now. But this is not connected to anything critical path-wise. So I wanted to show you what's going on and why we're doing it, because we have some exciting things coming up. Morning, Lucia. How are you? On October 12th, we are hosting the first annual Ghost Coast Festival. So last year, Jen with Spooky Galveston, a wonderful local tour guide here, did all of our Friday the 13th activities in the house, and we had so much fun. This year, Johnny Severson, who is another promoter down here in Galveston, to create the Ghost Coast Festival. We're going to have tons of vendors on site, food, games. It'll just be a fun event. But we have a lot of work to do in the yard. And then the following weekend on October 19th, we are again a part of the Easton Historic District Garden Tour. And we are under the gun to get this yard in shape. And a big part of our problem is it's been so hot. The heat index today is supposed to be 110. It is just brutal, and we've not felt comfortable asking volunteers to come do a lot of work in this heat. So once again, we are going to be down to the wire at getting things done. Hopefully it will cool off in the next few weeks and we can get that work done. But today we have to get the sidewalk done. And if you remember what happened there, it was all broken up from that heavy lift going across it when we had the front part of the roof done a few years ago. We just finished the rest of the roofing. We're not bringing heavy equipment in anymore. So today we're getting a sidewalk back. Let me show you. I don't know how this video is going to turn out. I have to start and stop constantly because it is peak morning traffic time. But you can see we have formed up a much smaller sidewalk than was here initially. It was a little over 10 feet wide. We've gone back with 5 feet. We had to take out our sidewalks going around to the side and partially over here because of the safety issue of the cracks. We don't have the money to put all that back. I got one estimate. It was between $12,000 and $15,000, so that's not happening. But the idea I came up with was to just do a 5-foot sidewalk that's more than wide enough to capture the opening in the gate and for 2 people to walk comfortably side by side. And it leaves us room to come back in the future and perhaps do some brickwork down the side to make it a little more visually appealing. But until that time, we're going to use some of our scrap brick and come fill in where this sidewalk would have been and connect up there, and we'll do it on the other side also. We have to do that because people could accidentally not pay attention, come off this step and hurt themselves. So we'll bring that brick up to the level of the new sidewalk, and then down at the end we're going to put in some small flower beds. We don't want a lot of flower beds because we can't keep them weeded, but this will make a nice addition down here and mirror the brick up by the porch, and we'll get a little something blooming on either side of the gate. So, but first step is to just get this poured. We had our inspection on Monday and passed. So the inspector had a couple of suggestions, which I'll share with Tony when he gets here this morning. But they'll come finish this. I've got to get all those wires pushed down. But this will be nice. It's been gone for a long time, and when it rains, this just becomes a lake, and we have to divert people around. While I was waiting on the inspector Monday, since they gave me a window of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., I had to get here super early again. I did get all this side weeded, so it looks much better. There's that stump I told you about a long time ago that I was going to plant and do something decorative. Right now it's just got some potato vine in it. And then I'm working my way around here. Heather trimmed up the bamboo a little bit. This is this nice umbrella plant, I call it. I don't know what its real name is. but it's got a lot of grass embedded in it, so I have to trace that down and pull it out from the roots. But it's very dry. I need some rain to be able to get in there and do that. But we'll get some mulch in here, and you can see this ground cover is spreading really well, and it blooms all summer, so I'm just going to let that fill in. They were exactly on time at 7:31. They rolled up and are unloading all their tools to get done, and they've added 2x4 with some rocks to form up our little channel there that I need to close up to explain to you guys what's going on there. We'll do that after they pour so you can really see what's happening. And now we're just waiting on the concrete. I was sitting inside and heard the truck pull up, so these guys had to hurry up and wait too. They were here on time, but it's now almost 9 and the cement's just getting here, so this is exciting. And they've got one of those little trolleys. There's no way to get that truck through the gate. It's just too narrow and too risky with our antique cast iron post. So they'll just fill up their little trolley and drive it in. When we did the basement downstairs, if you remember, they brought a pumping truck because it was so much concrete. This would have taken forever to use something like this. Unfortunately, the ground is very dry, so he's not going to sink. I need to go move my tripod out of the way. The power buggy. There it goes. I'm going to try to remember to count how many trips he makes. So there's 1. We've seen it all. Remember the crew that did the foundation in the chauffeur's quarters mixed by hand all that concrete. Then we've had a pumper truck. Now we've had the buggy. I'm going to guess 5 buggy full. Don't know how much a buggy holds. Probably a yard. 3/4 of a yard. I'll have to ask. But while they were waiting, they did some measuring and marking for the tooled expansion joints. And they're not called expansion joints. I'm going to have to ask them. So we're not putting wood expansion joints in here because the wood just rots and makes a mess. It won't last. But they will tool a line across, like score it, so that if it does crack, it will crack along that line. So kind of like when you score glass to break it, you put a weak spot in. So this is going to go pretty fast. I might do some time lapse in a minute, but I think this is going to go too quick. Maybe when they're finishing. He's worried about it splattering on me. like that's a problem. I appreciate the thought. doesn't want to get too close on that slope and not be able to stop and hit the form. So if he... There goes the splatter. Just felt it. Such an improvement from what we've been living with the last year or so. I'll have to look back up on the videos and see exactly when we took this out. So now he's just, I call that a screed. I don't know what the right name for that is. Just to get a rough level on it. Because the last thing they want is for that concrete truck to leave and not have enough concrete in here to fill this form. And this is hard work. That's heavy. He's just pulling it back. It looks so easy. It's a lot of weight. Got the big float. He's going to go ahead and start smoothing it out. It's a small job. This is not going to take him any time at all. But I'll get a smooth finish and then probably broom it. And we've got a lot of slope from the step down to the sidewalk. So there might be a puddling of water here at the gate when it rains, because you can see the street is much, much higher than the property, and all the water drains back from the street towards our gate. In fact, one of my neighbors was just here not complaining, that's the wrong word because she's sweet, but just commenting on the water, how when there is a hard rain you can't walk across here. But I talked to the city about it. There was no way for them to do the sidewalk any different. But we may dig some of this out and try to do some drainage to get it to flow a little faster off the sidewalk. There's something very soothing to me about the sound of this float going across the concrete. It's very relaxing. This is that old concrete we broke out. It was just like maybe a crushed granite underneath to build a base, and then they poured about a ½ inch of concrete on top. There was no mesh or rebar or anything in it, which is one reason why it disintegrated and broke up so badly. I lost track of the number of buggies of concrete that they poured. I think it was 4. This last little bit may make 5, but it wasn't a complete buggy, and they couldn't get up close to where it needed to be because of the concrete debris where the sidewalk was taken out. So they just used a shovel to shovel it in there. And as I'm putting this video together, I realized I didn't show you the problem up here at the gate where they added that 2x4 and put the rocks on it to raise the end of the form. We're basically ending up with a small mismatched height between the new sidewalk and the sidewalk that the city poured, and it's just about the width of one of the tiles on our porch. So once all of this is cured and the forms are removed, I'm going to come back in and set some tile in that gap as a little decorative edge. I'll show you that process when I'm actually doing the work at some point in the future, and it will make more sense to you when you see it. Getting a tiny bit more. It's surprising. Looks full to me. So it turns out Tony was not getting any more concrete for the sidewalk itself. They just had to empty the last tiny bit out of the big cement truck so that it could go on its way. Tony mixed it with a bunch of water. There wasn't much left, and I told him he could pour it all out on our driveway down near the gate. We have a problem with this driveway. It's just this very small gravel, a very, very thin layer of it over sand, and it's very soft, and when it rains we have had numerous pickup trucks get stuck in here and spin out tires, and it's quite a mess. It's not really a stable surface. So when we have something like this, we just pour it out, and I hosed it down with water to kind of rinse the cement down, and it does give the driveway some stability. Now eventually we'll bulldoze all of this out and do something different. So this is just temporary, and it does look a little bad when we first do it because it's all gray and gunky looking, but over time it'll rain and sand will wash on it and it will look just like it did before. But it's an easy way to get rid of this little bit of extra, and it's mostly just aggregate, so it's just adding a little bit bigger rock to our surface. Okay, so this is that, what did you call it? Control joint. I could not remember that to save my life. So it controls where it's going to crack, if it cracks.
Yeah. It's going to crack.
It will crack.
Yeah.
Everything cracks. But this is what the inspector was talking about. If you don't use the expansion boards to put a control joint in it.
I'd rather do these than the boards.
I would too. They rot and then they're a mess and the concrete moves and then you have a high spot. And then we didn't talk about what kind of finish. Are you going to broom it or broom it? Broom finish. Because it does get wet down here and we don't want to slip on slick concrete. It looks so much nicer already. So they're trying to finish up before it gets too hot. They've got to go pour another job after this. So I am going to go set this up on the tripod and do some time lapse for you guys. Gotta stop the time lapse and show you. He's cleaning our gate without being asked. So that would be really hard to get off. Once it's dried, I know, because when the city did the sidewalk, they did not clean, and it's still a mess. So I'm loving these guys. Let me go back and get the time lapse going. I am putting our open signs out because we're open today. Hey, it is so pretty. Look at that. Too bad we have a big crack right there, but I'm contemplating a way to cover the crack with the base for our handrail. If you can't fix it, disguise it. Alright, the forms are coming off. This is actually Tony's father. We work together. The concrete needed to sit up for a couple of hours and cure before the forms could actually be removed. So Tony went ahead and left to go to another job he was getting ready to pour in the afternoon, and his dad stayed behind to finish up. The sidewalk turned out great. It's a little messy with all this broken out concrete everywhere, but I'm hauling that away. We did that so that we could reduce the price. Hauling away trash is something that we can do free. There's a concrete dump. You've been with us too before here on the island, so that's something we'll do later. But for right now, the sidewalk looks fantastic. It's got a nice brushed finish on it. It's a great safe place for people to come into the house, and once we get that brickwork done, it will look even better. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining us here at the League-Kempner House in Galveston. We appreciate all your support, and we hope someday that you can come visit in person and take a stroll up this sidewalk into this incredible house. We'll see you next time.